Well,
Yeah, why don't
actually,
you?
if you don't mind, I actually have a question for you too.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like the data that you have and you know, a lot of what we're doing on the NEPA side of things, for example, like the thing that's the most valuable to us is you know, like the demographics and the economics. And so but we only care about it in a very specific area. So like, you know, a polygon, for example.
Mhm.
So is there a way to pull that polygon in as well?
Yeah, I can show that while you get your thing ready, Diana.
Sounds great.
So I'll just pick, I just went to Living Atlas to find some content, right? Current ACS is what I typed, and here's a bunch of existing web maps that people have already authored. You know, here's about veterans. If I want to limit this to just say, well, no, I just show me the layers. You know, I can show the completed maps, or I can just show the layers that exist. You know, think of layers as each layer is its own collection of attributes on a topic. So like ACS context for child well-being, or
Mhm.
ACS housing units in structures. So I'll just pick that one. And it's a layer. So I'm just going to open it in the map viewer. And I'll use the example of, I mentioned Colorado earlier. So I'm probably going to zoom to Colorado. So I'll just pick it and hit zoom to, and I'll go to Colorado. Maybe I'll zoom in one more time since space allows. And I don't want all these surrounding counties. So what I might do is just jump into the county layer, which is what I'm looking at.
Mhm.
And let me expand this. Go to the filter option, and I'll just say, I want to add a filter. And let's see what fields we have to filter on. I wonder if we have a field called state. So I'm just going to type, it's going to search all the fields. Ooh, I got lucky. Or did I know it ahead of time? You will never know. If I type Colorado, I get instant feedback from the map. Does it find any features that have state equal to Colorado? And I would say the answer is yes. So
Right.
even though I honestly did not know whether we had a state field, and I didn't know if the state field contained the full name of Colorado or contained the abbreviation, you just saw me risk my professional reputation right in front of you live, and it worked out okay, right? And compare that to some other experiences you may have had out there in trying to get something done. So I hit save, so now it's going to go apply it. And now this is just my data. This is only my data. The only data that matters is what's in the state of Colorado. And therefore, the style of the map currently is inherited from the main map. And so if I wanted to change that attribute to, you know, I'm looking at the count of occupied mobile homes. Let's just change the map to show that. Now it's only going to query those features for Colorado. And so all the smart mapping recommendations in this histogram and the content of the histogram reflects only the data for Colorado. Whether you want that or you don't want that, that's up to you. Depends on what kind of story you're telling. So in just a few clicks, we're now kind of seeing which counties are more important on the topic of occupied mobile homes, just as an example. And then what would I do? I would hit save and give it a name, and then it's mine to continue working with. And about an hour or two later, you'll be done. You'll be happy. You'll have a great pop-up. You'll maybe go in and apply some labels. Really great labeling capability in this new map viewer where you can have multiple labels, each one at a different scale. So one label can operate at this scale. You can add another label class so that as you zoom in, you can put more information as you zoom in. Like right now, I'm just showing the counties, for example, but I'll throw that in as I didn't get a chance to show labels earlier, so I wanted to throw it in now. Diana, you ready?
Wait, before we go to Diana, this is Erica again. I just want to sort of clarify what Nick and I are trying to get at, because James, I appreciate that focus that you brought in, but it still ties to the data that's out there. We are talking about situations where you have a specific project area polygon for a construction site, a border section of a military range that is very specific to your project. So you have a defined shapefile that's not something that you can necessarily query out of these databases that you have.
Okay.
Is there a way to import that and then use that the way you would use a clip or a buffer and do queries that way in the traditional GIS sort of way? Or is this capability really limited to these level analyses, these pre-existing geographic analyses?
Got the question. So if it's a layer I know I'm going to reuse, I'll go to this content page. I'll say add item, and I'll go get it. If it's either on my computer or if it's on an existing REST endpoint, a URL somewhere out there on the internet, it could be a WMS or WTS or whatever. But if it's on my computer and I want to reuse it for everybody, I'll go find the file and choose it. This is a brand new laptop, so I have no content on here. But you would go find maybe in my downloads.
Can you pull up your own GDB onto it?
Pull up your own file geodatabase that's zipped, or pull a shape file that's zipped. And when you touch it, I think Diane will show this in a second with the CSV. It's the same concept. But when you add that item, it's yours. And now you can choose to share it or you can choose to keep it private. And then the other example I wanted to show briefly, if I just jump back in here, that's the case where you know you have an official layer and you're supposed to use it, then please do so. And then the other option that's new in this product, the web map viewer, we have a new layer type called sketch, and you can sketch anything you want onto this layer as a boundary, for example, or a location of things. So if I wanted to just kind of eyeball it and sketch it, you could do that. It's just a graphic within this map. That's for the case where you don't want to go to the trouble of going to my content and uploading it permanently. Cool.
Yeah, really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for that question. Let me now orient you to a spreadsheet here that I'll bring in. All right, so this is women in parliament by country. We've got the country, we've got lower house total seats and upper house total seats and all kinds of stuff. It's basically like House of Representatives and Senate. And then the percentage of parliament that is women. And this is probably what we want to map. We can bring in this CSV. And just as Jim mentioned, that you can bring in all kinds of different types of files here. XLS or CSV is a popular one. Okay. Let me close that. There we go. And it's going to look through the spreadsheet and see if you have any addresses, any coordinates, or any place names. And so it's saying, okay, we found some place names. If it saw coordinates, it would get that. None, maybe I just want to add this as a table to use in future work. I could do that as well. But it found places, it says country. We're going to use this as our country field. And if it found street addresses, we could go through and say, yeah, use this as such and such field, zip code, etc. This is because I'm on the United States address format, but you know, I know the United Kingdom has a slightly different address format and it would pick up on those fields. So I've got country here. It realizes that that's my location field. So let me add this item. And of course, I forgot to add tags. We'll add this. And oh man, I am just, okay. I'll call this Women in Parliament.
It kind of encourages you to give it a real world name, doesn't it?
It does. I know it's correcting the problem at the source and not letting me go much farther. So I do appreciate it when I'm not in front of 100 people. But here we go. It's creating a point layer right now from that country field. That was what we deemed as our location. And let's go ahead and look at this. It's prompting me to review some things. It's saying we matched 191 out of 193. Do you want to review your unmatched locations? Yes, let's go there. So I can take a look at these two problem children that didn't quite match. We'll see what's going on with them. Okay, so I think all this needs is a space, and it's saying, okay, this one, I think we're going to suggest that it matches to this one with a space in it, but we just wanted you to review it. So yes, I do want that one actually. And let's go ahead and match that one. And this one looks like I've got two options. I'm going to choose this one. And now I'm done reviewing. And let me zoom out quite a ways. Now I've got a point layer by country.
It's a nice map of data.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so I would, of course, go through and do the layer work first of giving these nice attribute aliases and things like that. Then I can work on the symbology and the pop-up and things like that, make it into a really nice web map. But that's a really quick way to add spreadsheet data and create a layer from that.
And we actually have tools, don't we, Diana, that like you and Lisa use all the time, where once a layer gets instantiated with its cryptic field names, you actually have a Python tool that works with an Excel table where someone can, with one gesture, update all those aliases so that they're no longer cryptic field names only. You add an alias that reads in plain language so that people know exactly what this is. And she's got a tool that I'm sure if people emailed her or somehow reached her, she would share, because I love that tool. Even I can understand how to use it. Fill out an Excel spreadsheet. This field should be called this, and then you run the tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let me just show you a before and after of running that kind of metadata tool work. So here's what our fields look like. The display name is the field name, and there's no additional information to it, versus something like what Jim was just showing. I'll use that housing example. This one has gone through the work of nice field names. I think you were showing, was it this one? It doesn't matter. View item details, and I'll show you the fields with both the alias itself and the long field description. And you can just see the difference. And remember, this alias is what gets assigned to your legend. It shows up when you're working with the data, rather than seeing this when you're trying to symbolize something. I'd much rather see this. And then on the table itself, if you're clicking on an attribute you want even more information about definitions, this is where the long field name comes in, or long field description comes in. And like Jim mentioned, rather than copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, I do have a tool if you want to email me. It's DLAVERY@esri.com. Feel free to reach out with any questions whatsoever.